Good day. My name is Barileng Sekokotla, and in this reflection, I am going to discuss the lesson I presented on mokgwa wa diphoofolo di phihlago ka gona, the way animals hide themselves for grade 2 life skills. Now, the three learning objectives for this lesson: number one, were for learners to be able to identify different kinds of animals that are able to hide themselves in various environments. Different kinds of animals that are able to hide themselves in various kinds of environments. Number two, it was for the learners to be able to explain how these animals are able to use camouflage to hide themselves. Number three, it was for the learners to draw an animal of their choice while explaining to a peer how the animal is able to hide itself in its environment. Now, moving on to introduction. At the beginning of the lesson, I, as the teacher, showed the learners different kinds of animals that are able to hide themselves in different kinds of environments. And then I read for them the heading of a passage, which was mokgwa wo diphoofolo di phihlago ka gona, the way animals hide themselves. Now, by doing so, learners were now able to predict what the lesson content would be about. Now, I classified this activity as the substitution level of SAMR model because the usage of laptop pictures replaced traditional printed pictures while supporting the learning objective. Now, moving on to development. I, as the teacher, read for the learners line by line the passage at hand while they followed using their textbook. After that, I displayed for them pictures on my laptop of the animals mentioned in the passage so as to help them have a clear understanding of the lesson. Now, I classified this activity as the augmentation level of SAMR model because technology was able to enhance their understanding through clear visual support. Now, moving on to consolidation. Now, in consolidation phase, the learners were now able to draw an animal of their choice while explaining to a peer how the animal is able to use camouflage or how the animal is able to hide itself in its environment. Now, this allowed learners to apply and demonstrate their understanding of the content, of the lesson content in learning. Okay, now I classified this activity as the modification level of SAMR model because I identified this activity as the modification level of SAMR model because learners were able to combine what they learned through digital pictures and the lesson in order to complete a creative task, which was drawing an animal that can hide itself in an environment or in its environment. Now, moving on to the teacher-learner role. I, as the teacher, was able to facilitate the discussions held throughout the learning session, and I was able to support the learners, and I was also able to provide them explanations where necessary. And then for the learners, they were able to participate actively while asking questions where they did not understand, and they were also able to demonstrate their understanding by drawing an animal of their choice, an animal that was able to hide itself in an environment. Now, going on to the reflection. Now, on the reflection, I feel like I think the lesson was successful because now I was able to achieve the learning objectives. and the learners were able to demonstrate their understanding by drawing different kinds of animals and explaining how they were able to hide themselves in different kinds of environments. Now, if I were to teach this lesson again, I would add educational videos so as to broaden the learners' understanding on animals that are able to hide themselves in different kinds of environments. Thank you.